What's happening, everybody? Friday, October 10th, 2025. My name is Kevin Smith. Thank you all so much for tuning into Loud Majority Live. We got a jam-packed show for you guys today. The New Jersey governor race heats up with a debate between Mikey Sherrill and Jack Ciattarelli as that race continues to tighten. Donald Trump's numbers soar in the polls as he is snubbed for the Nobel Peace Prize to some woman who has accomplished nothing. Accomplished absolutely nothing. Also, Letitia James has been indicted on mortgage fraud. Boy, no one's above the law, Tish, even if you are 9 feet tall. Wild stuff, absolutely wild stuff. But before we get into all of that, we've got some breaking news over the course of the last several hours. Benny Johnson, commentator, host of the Benny Johnson Show, someone attempted to or made threats enough on his family that a suspect has been arrested by the Department of Justice. Now, of course, this comes 1 month to the day after Charlie Kirk's assassination. I'm really over this both sides shit. I really am, because it obfuscates and ignores the problem. And the first step to solving any problem is to recognize that there is one. I don't think from now on I'm going to use the term radical left-wing violence or left-wing extremism, because it's not. It's not radical and it's not extreme. It's mainstream. The Attorney General candidate in Virginia has expressed views that he would like to see you and your family dead. They're not hiding it anymore. They're coming right out and saying it. And these are not the fringes. These are not, for a long time maybe we thought it was radicals online and people that are stuck in the subreddit culture and, just people who get all worked up, these nihilists that have no desire to live. It's not. It's regular people. It's your regular run-of-the-mill Democrat. I wish it wasn't so, but it seems like it is. Here was Benny Johnson.
1 month ago today, I witnessed my friend of 10 years, someone who I considered a brother, a loving husband, a devoted father, a generational leader, get assassinated on a live stream by a left-wing radical. Approximately 1 year ago, I witnessed the President of the United States get shot in the head by a left-wing radical, who also took the life of a Trump supporter in front of his daughters and wife. 2 months ago, Christian children kneeling and praying in a church were slaughtered by a left-wing extremist. And 2 weeks ago, federal law enforcement was shot at multiple sniper rounds in a federal facility by a left-wing extremist. If it's happening every single week, is it that extreme? Or has the Democrat Party mainstreamed violence as a political tool? The individual who wrote me described why he wanted me dead. I was a white, cis, Christian Trump supporter. They described in great detail how I would be killed in an open field just like Charlie, how much blood would come out of my head and neck when it was blown off. This individual described orphaning my 4 beautiful children and widowing my wife. with great joy. You might want to say another left-wing radical, another extremist. And to that, I would like to direct your attention to the state of Virginia, where Democrats have nominated and are about to vote for the chief law enforcement officer in that state, a man who has done the exact same thing. An individual who's calling for the assassination by bullets of Republicans that he disagrees with. The killing of their children. The slaughtering of, as he says, little fascists. Are my 4 innocent, beautiful children little fascists? Violence has been mainstreamed by the Democrat Party. It is not extremist, it is mainstream. And we need a moment of reckoning here. This has to stop. This cycle must end. Is any Democrat courageous enough to disavow violence? To call for individuals that espouse these things, like what happened to my family, or what's happening in Virginia, to call for those kind of candidates to step down? Will Democrats vote for that? Because if you're voting for that, then implicitly you're encouraging it. You're endorsing it. I don't want political violence. I want peace in my nation. I love this country. I want to be able to debate like Charlie did. I want to be able to raise my family in peace. That is our birthright. But you cannot make peace with evil as a Christian. You cannot unite with people who want you dead. I want unity in this nation. I want to be able to agree on more than what we disagree on. But for that first to happen, we must understand the battle. We are fighting good versus evil, darkness versus light. And good must conquer evil. Do not make peace with evil. To that end, and in conclusion, I would like to thank federal law enforcement, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, the FBI, the DOJ, the Tampa Police Department, the detectives here, with absolute pinpoint accuracy, professionalism, courtesy, swift and tact. They were able to act instantly in order to make sure that my family was safe. Potentially to preserve the lives of my children. And they're doing that for families all around the country in many different ways. Every American should unite behind that cause. No matter who you are, you should say, this is a country where families should be able to raise their children safely, where people can have peaceful disagreements, and where we can all live together under one American flag. I just want to profoundly thank the Trump administration and federal law enforcement and local law enforcement for saving my family. I will never forget it. It is the greatest goodness that has ever been done to me. And that is a thing that every American can get behind. The Trump administration making America safe again. God bless them.
And you know what? Honestly, like, you can see it in Benny's face right there. Obviously, this was not an idle threat for the DOJ to get involved in the way that they very clearly did. This was obviously something real enough for them to get involved. This comes, of course, one month after he watched his friend die. After we all watched it happen as well. Yet, there are still people out there. There are still people out there doing the both sides crap. And of course, they are the same nefarious actors one would expect. Both elected Democrats and establishment hacks in the media continue to peddle this idea like we've got an overarching problem in America, just with violence. Just violence. No violence directed at any particular person. Well, Eric Trump tried that crap on Fredo's show, and it didn't go very well for him.
Do you think that it is fair to say it looks like the administration is going after its political opponents now and doing exactly what you say you oppose?
What, Comey? Because I mean, it seemed very clear to me in the congressional testimony. I don't know, just watching it, I certainly seemed like he lied to me. I mean, I'm also wondering what an FBI director is doing, taking memos from the FBI and leaking them to the New York Times. I mean, Chris, I'm a guy that hopes that the FBI director would be keeping planes from flying into buildings, keeping our country safe, keeping the Western way of life safe. Instead, this guy is, communicating every single day with the New York Times. I mean, I'd hope a lot better, but I find it so ironic that you're literally one that's pushing back on the weaponization of government when the very same people that were coming after us, went after your brother, like hounds. I mean, they did everything they could to destroy his governorship. They did everything they could to destroy his life. They did everything they could to destroy you. I sat in that same seat. The only difference is my last name wasn't Cuomo. My last name was Trump. They were trying to destroy my father. And by doing that, they were trying to destroy me, and they were trying to destroy the Trump organization. They were trying to take all our assets and strip our name off of every building in New York City. You've been on the receiving end of the very same people that I've been on the receiving end of. And so to play coy with me as if this isn't happening in the United States of America just seems ironic and foolish given what you've been through more so than anybody.
Hold on a second. What did you just say that you think I'm doing? I'm asking you questions about whether or not, if something is wrong, it is also wrong to do the same thing when you get back in power, which certainly happened the first time the administration came in. You went right after Biden. And I don't mean you weren't part of the administration. I'll get to you in a second in terms of what's going on right now. But if you think I'm playing coy, you don't know me as well as you should.
Chris,
I'm not playing coy. I know what happened to me,
Chris,
Eric. I'm saying
Chris,
that
and it was
what is
horrible
happening now looks like what was done to you. That's why I'm asking the question.
Did we raid Biden's home? Did we try and bankrupt Biden? Did they come after us? Did we weaponize every AG and DA, against Biden? Did we do that against Hunter Biden, who had a laptop from hell, pictures of cocaine, illicit drug use, prostitution? Did we do that? Did we make up a dirty dossier about Biden? Did they try and destroy Biden's marriage? Was any of that true? I mean, did we make up stories that Biden had secret servers in the basement of his home communicating with the Kremlin in Russia? Did we strip Biden off the ballot of multiple states? Did we take Biden off of Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and try and silence his voice so he couldn't communicate? Did we put Biden in a courtroom every single day? 91 felony counts that have all been overturned for my father now, right? For nonsense, to try and keep him off of a campaign trail and to try and destroy his life. Did we do any of that?
No, and of course, because we would never do things like that. And now people play coy like Chris Cuomo, pretending to be stupid, like this is a both sides issue. The violence, the politicization of the federal government, Democrats continue to be shocked when they get a little taste of their own medicine without having realized that they're the ones that started down this road. And yes, when it comes to people like Comey and Letitia James, are they getting a little taste of their own medicine? Absolutely. Absolutely they are. But the right doesn't get violent the way the left does when they don't get their way. We don't. We simply don't. Dan Goldman tried this crap on CNN a couple days ago, but my friend Brianna Lyman, she just wasn't having it. Just wasn't having it.
I may have to play this until the end of time, but let's not have a short memory.
Look, I respect the both sides attempt right now, but I think in the current political climate, when the political violence has been directed to one side, which is to my side, the right side,
it's not.
it's not? Did Charlie Kirk just get assassinated a month ago today?
Hold on.
Are you aware of Minnesota? Are you aware?
By a guy who had flags that said no king, or flyers that said no kings, who was appointed by Tim Walz.
The left is appointed by Tim.
But of course, Dan Goldman doesn't know any of that because Dan Goldman is a dumbass. By the way, Dan Goldman, the billionaire heir to Levi Strauss. Naturally, Abby Phillip has to jump in there and save what she sees as the future of the Democratic Party. But this both sides crap, I'm done. I'm done pretending this is a both sides issue. It just isn't. So I will no longer be referring to these people as radicals or extremists because they're not. They're just run-of-the-mill Democrats. And that you would think that a month after the world watched Charlie Kirk get killed in front of our eyes, that some people in the Democratic Party might might have just a little bit of humility. But they don't. They're going to continue to ramp up the rhetoric. They're going to continue to talk. They're going to continue to make things up about people like you and people like me. All the while, still supporting people like Jay Jones in Virginia, who literally called for you and your family to be murdered. Not an extremist. The Virginia Attorney General candidate. This is not a question of radicalization. This is a question of your run-of-the-mill Democrat. And it's time people started to understand that. Because when you and I call these people radicals or extremists, it gives cover to the regulars, like Jay Jones, down in Virginia. It gives cover to the people who would just, my friend Tiffany Savage the other day, after the Charlie Kirk assassination, put out a tweet that I thought was pretty poignant. She said that in 2024, we learned which people in our lives would celebrate the death of a president. And then following the Charlie Kirk assassination, we learned which people in our lives would celebrate it if we got killed. Members of my family, people I went to high school with, celebrating it. And what did we do? We prayed. We gathered together in unity. That's what we did. And I really hope that we keep doing that. And that things don't get worse. I'm happy Benny Johnson and his family are okay. It's absolutely horrifying. You saw it in Benny's face in that video. Obviously, he's not doing well. I can't imagine why he would be after news like that. But it's this is not a both sides issue. And for Dan Goldman, that hack, you'd think he might know better, but he does know better. He just doesn't care. He just doesn't care. Democrats continue to freak out over us doing exactly what they did for the last 4 years. Turns out, no one is above the law, Tish James. Not even you. We'll get to that in 1 second. Before we do that, here's Jeremy.
Hey, everybody. How you doing? Well, it's that time of year again, isn't it? My favorite time of year. Fall. Oh, I love the leaves. I love the autumn smell. I love the pumpkins. I love it all right before the snow flies. But what I don't love that comes with the cold weather and the fall weather is the flu, are the sniffles, the cold, all those common cold sniffles that you get every year. And if you have kids in the house, little kids going to and fro school, and they're coming back and they're touching everything and they're bringing the bacteria and all those viruses home from school, you don't want anything to do with that. You want to be proactive rather than reactive. That's why we're going to talk about propolis today. You know what propolis is? Well, ladies and gentlemen, propolis is what works as a barrier to keep the beehive absolutely safe. And what am I talking about? Well, beekeepers naturals. Now, my wife really turned me on to this. This is an endorsement of my wife and then myself as well. Beekeepers Naturals, folks, that is exactly what this is. This is a proactive rather than a reactive, all natural, all clean alternative to big food and big pharma. You've got your Beekeepers vitamin C packs, which are perfect for on the go, right? You've got your Beekeepers Propolis nasal spray. A few shots up the nose, clears out your nostrils, cleans any congestion that you have, and it's all natural, and it's going to work as a proactive barrier to any of that unwanted bacteria getting in. How about the Beekeepers All Natural Propolis Immune Throat Spray? 3 or 4 pumps of that a day, and anything that you're breathing in is going to be either repelled or killed right away. That's the amazing thing about propolis, and that is the amazing thing about Beekeepers Naturals. And I got a 20% discount for you. What's better than that? 20% discount. Look, you can even get the throat-soothing pops and the kids' prebiotic fiber pops, along with the throat spray, along with the nasal spray, along with the vitamin C packs. Folks, they've got it all, and it's an all-natural, clean, beautiful option for you to have in order to, get away from the big food, get away from the big pharma, and go more natural, especially with a 20% discount. How can you not go to Beekeepers Naturals today /LFA and get your 20% discount? Clean out your medicine cabinet today with beekeepers.com/LFA. And now back to the show.
So Democrats are getting very upset that they're getting a taste of their own medicine. And we are starting to fight back in the courts the way they did against us, the way President Trump had to face, as Eric Trump spoke of earlier. And I want to talk to the audience for a second, and I don't do this a lot. This will probably be my short clip today. For all the people out there that bitched and moaned for the last 6 months that nothing was happening, where are the arrests? Where are the indictments? And people like me were called all sorts of names for telling you to take a breath and that government never moves as fast as you'd like them to. Could we do a little shutting up now? What do you think? Could we do a little less talking? As we've gotten 2 in 2 weeks, who will be the next? As Letitia James is now indicted for mortgage fraud.
Fox News alert, Letitia James has been indicted by a federal grand jury. Senior correspondent Kevin Cork has the details. Kevin.
Evening, Jesse. Just reading the headline will be for many sweet vindication, proving that, sometimes legal turnabout is in fact fair play. A federal grand jury in Virginia indicting the New York Attorney General Letitia James on 2 counts related to alleged mortgage bank fraud. James, or Big Tish as she's been monikered by some of her critics, was being probed for alleged paperwork discrepancies on her Brooklyn townhouse and her Virginia home. She allegedly declared both to be primary residences on mortgage applications, which you just can't do. Though I should add this, she has publicly denied any wrongdoing. And she responded to the charges today with a video saying this about the president.
He is forcing federal law enforcement agencies to do his bidding. All because I did my job as the New York State Attorney General.
Now, we're told that the grand jury was presented with evidence by the new U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan herself. That's a rare move. It's usually handled by lower-level prosecutors. Halligan, you may recall, is President Trump's former private attorney. In a statement we received today, Halligan said the charges, as alleged in this case, represent intentional criminal acts and tremendous breaches of the public's trust. Halligan's predecessor, Eric Siebert, resigned last month under pressure from the administration. Sources tell us he was off-ramped for refusing to move forward with obvious charges. For her part, James has a first scheduled appearance in court on October the 24th. We'll be watching. I have a feeling you will too.
No one is above the law, even
That's right.
Big Tish.
That's right.
All right. Thank you so
Big
much.
Tish. I'm liking that name. I'm liking it a lot. I'm actually liking it a great deal. Big Tish. Naturally, her allies in the media are making every excuse in the world for her. CNN went so far as to say that, this is something that everyone does. This is something that everybody does. Everybody, and I don't know about you guys. But when you bought your second house, did you write down that they were both your primary residences? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe, because I'm not in a position to buy 2 houses. I'm not in a position to buy 1, let's be honest here. But I'm not in a position to buy 2 houses. I don't really get to do that. But according to CNN, this is just something that happens sometimes.
So the indictment accuses James of falsely claiming in loan documents that she would use a home she purchased in Virginia as a second residence. That allowed her then to get a better interest rate. Instead, they say she used this home as a rental property. Put this into context for us. How often would DOJ prosecute a case like this?
So bank fraud, or what we consider mortgage fraud type cases, are very common. They're, something that most U.S. attorneys' offices around the country do on a routine basis. What's different about this case is it is involving a very small amount of money, right? We're talking, almost $19,000. This is not the kind of case that most U.S. attorneys' offices are bringing. Usually they're looking for, mortgage schemes or things that involve a much higher monetary threshold. What jumps out at me is not the fact that it's a mortgage fraud case, but the amount.
Aside for a second, what Tish James, and again, we're still getting the details, but if it's related to this mortgage issue, this is something that everyone in America, or many people at least, if you're lucky enough to be able to buy a house in America, you deal with this, right? The federal government doesn't go after all of these people for doing this. Does that?
Oh, really? Everyone does this? Everyone gets to buy 2 houses and then list both of them as their second mortgage? That's as their primary residence? That's the first bit. The second bit, well, she only stole a little bit of money. So it's not really that big of a... You hear that, guys? So today, when you stop off at the bank, make sure you only rob a little bit of money, and then the DOJ won't come after you. Making every excuse in the world, other than the fact that Tish broke the law. She did. Now, to be fair to Tish, maybe I wouldn't be so upset. Maybe I wouldn't be so upset. If Democrats had said, maybe you shouldn't do that to President Trump, maybe that's a little bit over the line. Maybe you shouldn't magically make up the fact that his Mar-a-Lago estate is worth $20 million. But Democrats had no problem when they were doing it to Trump. So now, shoes on the other foot.
Yeah, well, they went to a grand jury. They showed them evidence. A grand jury decided to bring charges, just like in the case of Comey. And in both cases, they'll get to go to court and have their day in court. And we'll see if the evidence ever makes it to a jury of their peers. Look, Letitia James is the absolute worst possible poster child for the argument of selective prosecution. Her entire political career has been on the idea of selectively prosecuting one person, Donald J. Trump. Whether you think the merits of the case are strong or weak, or how you think it's going to play out, going out tonight and crying and whining and fussing about selective prosecution when it comes to Letitia James, who ran an entire campaign saying she was going to go after Trump, the cases she brought, it was only because of Trump. I don't think the American people are going to have too much sympathy for it. But she'll get to go to court. She'll get to make her arguments, and we'll see what happens. Okay. She tried to bankrupt him. She tried to ruin his life and try to make it so he couldn't run for president.
So what are we going to do? She brought forward a case that she thought was meritorious.
By the way, thank God she failed in her ultimate goal. Otherwise, we wouldn't be bringing these hostages on Monday. That's all I have.
Exactly. Thank God that she failed. Well, she thought it was meritorious. All right, so maybe Pam Bondi thinks it's meritorious. Two people can play that game. It's really not all that challenging. But look, if you thought that coverage was bad, if you thought that was selective, wait till we get to MSNBC. Before we get to that, Old Glory Bank.
When big banks decide who gets access to America's financial systems and who doesn't, who do you think gets left out? Middle Americans who proudly wave their pro-America values. Cancel culture in banking is corrosive. It limits your participation in a vibrant, free market economy. Fortunately, you can fight back. You now have the opportunity to invest in the bank that's investing in a fair American banking system, one based in freedom. Ownership in Old Glory Bank, the pro-America online bank, is here. Old Glory Bank is a full-service FDIC-insured bank that's the alternative to overreaching, un-American big banks. We stand for privacy, security, and liberty. We stand for freedom, family, faith, and the flag. We stand for all the values you stand for, and for the values big banks can't stand. So help keep banking in the hands of Main Street, not Wall Street. To invest in Old Glory Bank, go to oldglorybank.com.
Guys, lock in those interest rates today before Jerome Powell wises up or loses his job, guys. Head on over to oldglorybank.com. That's oldglorybank.com. Giddy up. Let's go. So, Tish James's friends in the media, well, they're doing yeoman's work. Let me tell you that. They are working overtime. And maybe not the best person to bring out when you're arguing about crappy cases and shady business dealings. Maybe not the best person in the world to bring out is Mark Elias.
I think really what we are living in now is we need to recognize that this is the reality. This is not surreal.
Right.
This is real. This is not the abnormal. This is the normal. Like, this is the world that we now live in. We live in a world in which the President of the United States is able to get anyone in the country who he wants indicted to be investigated by the FBI, to be pursued, perhaps have their house raided, and if they can find a bare minimum of a grand jury quorum anywhere, they will get indicted. And the days of the Department of Justice and the rules that everyone keeps citing to me, well, the rules of this, rules of that, those rules, that rule book is gone. Okay, those rules are gone. This is a president who believes he controls the Department of Justice and he decides who's guilty, who's innocent, who gets indicted, and who gets prosecuted. And if we don't all wake up to that, then we're going to keep having this conversation about who checked what box on a form. Nothing about who checked what box on a form is what this case is about.
Yeah, and if I can just add one thing, Simone says this is not over. Like, this is just begun.
Right.
Okay? Like, we were talking about the deployment of the military in Los Angeles, and there was a lot of public attention and outrage. And then it came to Washington, D.C., and there was a lot less. And then in Portland, there's been less. In Chicago, it's even less.
Just as they hoped.
And before you know it, there will be troops in every city trying to intimidate people. And, there has been a lot of attention about James Comey, understandably, and a lot about AG James, and for good reasons. But, when we start to get 6, 7, 10, 50 people deep into this process, shows like this, they'll cover them, but we can't let this become the norm. We can't let people stop standing up and calling this out when it happens.
What is happening?
Honestly, I could watch Mark Elias cry all day long, probably because he knows that at some point, he's going to be next. At some point, he is going to be next. That's a shame. That's a real shame. Let's see, what do we got here? The Senate is we'll get to that in a minute. Apparently, the Senate is voting once again to reopen the government, and it looks like Democrats are going to keep it closed for a 5th time. But there was more from MSNBC, more crying from people like Simone Sanders and Michael Steele.
Johnson and Michael Steele. Tonight, our hour is focused on the indictment of New York Attorney General Letitia James. In just a moment, we're going to be joined by the MSNBC reporter who's broken critical parts of this story. James' indictment comes just weeks after Donald Trump publicly pressured his Justice Department to take action against Letitia James, James Comey, and other perceived enemies. This is retribution, plain and simple. Remember, James secured a successful civil fraud verdict against Trump's business in New York just last year. On Monday, MSNBC reported that a top prosecutor in the...
I love that. She secured a civil fraud prosecution. What this lady with hair from 1997 doesn't tell you is that it was overturned by a higher court. So in that case, it's weird. It's actually not successful. It's unsuccessful. Let's see how this one goes. And look, I want to be clear. I don't know if she's going to jail, and I don't know if Comey's going to jail. I don't know if any of them are going to jail. However, I do like knowing that we're going to make their lives hell for a little while. I like that very, very much. I like that very, very much. It's nice to see. It's nice to see. We've got some New Jersey updates coming up in just a moment. And also a press conference was held about that horrific explosion in Tennessee. We'll get to that in 1 minute. Before we do that, guys, head on over to lfatv.us. That's lfatv.us. That's your home base, your mothership, your landing pad for all things LFA-TV related. Check out the LFA-TV store. And while you guys are there, consider becoming monthly donors over at LFA-TV. That's how we keep the lights on over here So do me a favor, guys. Head on over to lfatv.us. That's lfatv.us. Also, once again, for my Nashville crowd, I will be in Nashville next weekend, speaking at the Turning Point USA of Williamson County event. We just had to get a new location because the church we were going to use canceled the event because, I don't know, I guess some of the people there were a little bit too controversial. But oh, what the hell. We found a new one in a way cooler venue. So, you guys can go to hell. Apparently, they didn't like some of the speakers who were going to be there, including Congressman Andy Ogles, so they decided to cancel the event. But now we're going to be doing it at the Johnny Cash Ranch, which, I got to tell you, that's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. So I'll see you guys down in Nashville on the 18th. Giddy up. Let's go. So, oh yes, let's dive into this one because we've got new details coming out about the idiot who set the Palisades on fire. And the more we find out about this guy, the more we learn, sure enough, he was a climate change nut who hated Trump. The Florida man who has been accused of setting a massive fire in Palisades in Los Angeles had a long trail of anti-Trump and climate change posts on social media. This from the Post Millennial, where he blamed global warming for wildfires and then mocked conservatives. Jonathan Rydernacht is accused of starting the blaze on January 1st, allegedly hiking into the hills above Los Angeles to ignite a fire. Prosecutors say the flames weren't fully extinguished and reignited 6 days later, destroying nearly 7,000 homes and businesses, killing 12 people, and burning nearly 25,000 acres of land in the region. The damages are up to $150 billion. Authorities allege that he recorded a video of the fire and then called police in order to report it. On Facebook, he regularly shared political and environmental content. He posted memes mocking Trump supporters, linked to a Harris-Biden fundraiser, and frequently shared headlines about climate change and veganism. That's right, he was a vegan. I could have told you that. Other posts titled, Senator Kamala Harris says meat is destroying the planet, which is ironic considering how much she enjoys it. And the Antarctic ice shelves have lost millions of tons of ice. Yeah, that's right. Because one guy filmed a polar bear standing on a patch of ice like 20 years ago. And now, I don't know, Al Gore has found a way to make himself a couple of $1 billion. One of the photos he shared of himself was a painted skull covered in blood. Yeah, let's pop this one up on the screen. Yeah, this seems like a rational person right here. Oh yeah, we need more of that in this world, for sure. Now, of course, the problem with this whole thing is that the victims will never actually get to face, will never actually get justice. Many of the people have left, and they're never coming back. Sorry about that. Sorry about the yawn. They've left and they're never coming back. Here was one of the victims speaking out.
Now, I want to bring in Samantha Edis, a mother of 3 teenagers who lost her home in the Pacific Palisades fire. Samantha, we're so sorry for the loss of your home and for so much trauma you've endured. What does today's announcement mean to you?
I would love to say that it means complete justice is served, but that is not how we feel. I think that when you have an arrest like this, yes, it's nice that we have done something to show that someone's responsible, but the real people responsible are the sort of people, the government, who is behind the infrastructure that failed an entire town. So when you have 7,000 homes destroyed, you cannot blame that on one man. You have to blame it on the fact that that day, 33% of fire trucks were not operational. The reservoirs were empty. There were so many failures at the government level that led to an entire town being decimated. And you can't pin that on one person.
And it's my understanding, Samantha, that you moved, but to a home there still in LA County. So what has the aftermath been like for you and your neighbors as you navigate being let down in such a horrific way by, indeed, the state and local authorities? How are you rebuilding your lives and how are you trusting to move forward that this won't happen again?
Well, it wasn't just our homes that were lost. It was an entire community. It was your friends, your neighbors, your childhood memories. They're all gone. And so everyone has scattered to different parts of Los Angeles, different parts of the world. And the aftermath is trying to rebuild. It will probably take us at this rate about 5 years to rebuild, which is what we're doing. But I think 1% now of the homes in the last 8 months have been rebuilt, or now it's 9 months. So it really is not a fast process. This is a bureaucratic nightmare. I actually think it provides a warning for other cities. When you look at a city like New York that is about to elect a mayor with zero work experience, Zoran Mamdani, you have to look at a city like LA and say, what happens when you have an incompetent mayor? This is what can happen. And I think it provides a warning for people who are involved in elections in other cities. You don't want to have a system break down the way Los Angeles broke down in January.
I read, Samantha, your description that it still looks like Pompeii. You know, this level of devastation and destruction that, frankly, I think you can't appreciate unless you're there in person. And to still have it be that way, and to your point, for years, arguably, it's just simply unacceptable. I have one final question for you, and that is, how are your children doing? And how are the kids of your neighbors and loved ones doing as they have navigated the horrific trauma in the wake of these events?
I would say short term, everyone, knock on wood, is doing really well. I think it affects everyone differently. I had a child in college, and it probably in some ways affected her the most because she wasn't with us at the time and just got a call that everything has been lost. We didn't get to take anything with us, so I think it was just a shock. But I think we're all coping in our own ways. I mean, I'm someone who just likes to keep moving forward and not live life in the past lane, but it's definitely going to have an impact on them. I always say, I wonder what the impact will be in 20 years. You just have no idea. I think it affects every single child differently, and we just do our best to move forward.
Yeah. Samantha, we are praying for you. Our heart goes out to you and all of your neighbors for those losses, and especially those who lost loved ones. And just know we'll continue supporting you in this aftermath. Thank you for joining us. All right, I want to bring the conversation back to the couch. So, Charles.
And look, these people will never get resolution to this as much as I wish they would. I mean, I'm happy they caught somebody, and I'm happy that someone's going to face punishment for this, but let's be honest, they're never going to get their homes back. The insurance companies made a shitload of money. They're never going to have to pay out. Let's be honest here. It's just the way of the world, unfortunately, but at least there is someone, at least there's somebody being held accountable. I guess that's a small bit of a resolution for these people. Obviously, I hope they all get their lives back together, but let's be honest, if you've ever dealt with an insurance company, you know damn well that that's probably not going to happen. Probably not going to happen. Also, in just a minute, guys, we've got an update on that horrendous explosion that happened at I think it was a munitions factory in Tennessee. We'll get to that in 1 second. Before we do that, Mike Lindell. Where the hell is it? Oh, do I not have Mike up here? All right, I guess we're going to skip Mike Lindell. Where the hell's my Mike Lindell commercial? Hold on 1 second. Here's Mike.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 20% on our brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one I've worn every day for over 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get our 2025 six-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, just $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our first ever mega sale. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship is sale because right now, every order ships absolutely free.
Guys, head on over to MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD. That's MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD, for up to 80% off everything on the website. Take advantage of Mike's mega sale today, guys. MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD. So, earlier this morning, there was a horrific explosion. I guess it's a munitions factory in in Tennessee. Multiple people have died. The footage out of it is absolutely wild. There was a press conference about it earlier today with all the updates. Here was local PD.
That we're looking for. So, excuse me, I ask you to keep in mind those families. This is probably one of the most devastating sites, I think. Sheriff Kraft and I was talking about. It's probably been one of the most devastating situations that I've been on in my career. As far as the scene goes, we do feel that the scene is secure. We have ATF, FBI that are handling the scene as far as the investigative part, trying to figure out and recreate or figure out what actually happened to cause this. Do I see a short-term explanation? No. Do I see us being here for many days? Yes, I do see that. We've got we've got the bomb squad from Metro Bomb Squad here. I don't really want to get in to start naming all the agencies. I'm scared I'll miss somebody. We've got TBI, Bomb and Arson here. They're all working together. It's one of the things that I'm very happy to see is all of these agencies. It's not just one, but we've come together and we're making the very best team effort that we can to move forward. Please keep in mind that these families, and I've said it up front, I said it to start with, that's where our thoughts and prayers need to go right now. And we've just got to take one day at a time or 1 hour at a time. We're processing things. We're finding out more information. We're trying to figure out, maybe the cause of this. There's not going to be a short explanation for that. I know I may have repeated myself there a little bit, and forgive me, but we're all tired and trying to put together the best effort we can and remember the families and who we're working for. I do want to touch on Accurate Energetic. They are.
So there'll be more updates about that moving forward. Obviously, a horrific scene. You guys saw the video coming out of out of Tennessee there. A great many people, unfortunately, have died in that story. Absolutely terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. Moving on, though, we're on day, what are we on? Day 12 of the Schumer shutdown. Day 12, the Senate was just voting, is currently voting to reopen the government. It seems as though that's not going to happen. And Mike Johnson made an interesting claim today on Fox and Friends about why exactly Chuck Schumer is holding out from reopening the government.
A very patient guy, but I have had it with these people. They're playing games with real people's lives. The theory we have right now, they have a Hate America rally that's scheduled for October 18th on the National Mall. It's all the pro-Hamas wing and the Antifa people. They're all coming out. Some of the House Democrats are selling T-shirts for the event, and it's being told to us that they won't be able to reopen the government until after that rally because they can't face their rabid base. I mean, this is serious business hurting real people. And I'm beyond words. I can't believe they're actually doing this.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, you're talking about that No Kings rally. Real quickly before we move on to
So they're
topic.
having a No Kings rally on October 18th on the National Mall, and that's why Chuck Schumer is holding the government up. We'll see if he opens up the government on the 19th. Let's see how many people get laid off until then. But look, Democrats continue to trot out this message like it's Republicans closing the government when it simply is not. They're voting to open the government, frankly. I don't really give a shit if the government ever reopens. That's just me. Keep it closed. My life hasn't been affected. Let's vote on a singular resolution to pay the troops, and then we'll be good. We won't need the government whatsoever. We won't need it at all. To hell with it. To hell with it. Guys, we got a couple more stories we're going to get to before we wrap up today. Do me a favor, though. Head on over to loudmajorityusa.com. That's loudmajorityusa.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Check out our shop. That is the best way to support this show and everything we've got going on over here. Believe me, times are definitely tough, and I absolutely understand that. So if you guys can, please do consider becoming monthly donors over at the Loud Majority if you would like to support the work that we do. Also, my New Jersey friends, I will be out there October 25th and 26th with the great Mike Crispy, along with a handful of other conservative activists, getting everybody locked, ready to go for this New Jersey governor's race that we have in October. I'll give you more details on that as we get moving. But speaking of New Jersey governor's race, new polling is out that shows Jack Ciattarelli within the margin of error against Mikey Sherrill. And it's probably because Mikey Sherrill is one of the most dishonest people in America. So much so that while she was in Congress, she decided to sign on to a resolution condemning the assassination of Charlie Kirk. But then when she got back home, she condemned him as a racist.
Since the time that the Congresswoman is declared for governor, she's missed 90% of the votes in Washington. But a few Fridays ago, she skipped out of two very important joint appearances in New Jersey to get to Washington, D.C. to vote yes on the Charlie Kirk resolution celebrating his life. I applaud her yes on that vote. When she came back to New Jersey and caught hell from the left, she issued a statement condemning Charlie Kirk, calling him a misogynist and a racist. The two things are inconsistent to me. The way to tamp down the hateful rhetoric is by having the right kind of leadership in place. I've always conducted myself in a respectful way, even when I disagree with people. I'm never going to tarnish the name my parents gave me, and I'm never going to embarrass my 4 children. I've always been respectful with my rhetoric, and I think that that's more important than ever.
But that wasn't all. As if that wasn't bad enough, she also decided that she was going to claim that Jack Ciattarelli murdered like tens of thousands of people, which that's a weird claim to make right out front.
Happy to publish the information. And here
I'm
are the
sure
facts.
you are.
I work because I think our kids deserve better.
Mm-hmm.
I think the people you got addicted and died deserve better than you.
Addicted
and I'll
and died.
tell you, tens of thousands here as you published misinformation, as you got more people addicted, as you got paid to develop an app so that more people could get more opioids and die.
I got
but here's
to walk
the
at my
fact.
college graduation.
I
got to walk at my college graduation.
And I'm
you'll
so
get 15
glad
seconds.
that you then went on to kill tens of thousands of people in New Jersey, including children,
never broke the
as
law.
they got.
I
You
never
just
broke the
broke the
law.
law. In fact, your campaign right now is under federal investigation for how you
No,
illegally
you've
got
broken the
access to
law.
my records. So to say that right now, and I think you're trying to divert from the fact that you killed tens of thousands of people by
You
printing
broke the law.
your misinformation, your propaganda, and then getting paid to develop an app so that people could more easily get the opioids once they
And
were
look, I
addicted.
want to be clear. If you watch this show, you know damn well that when it comes to that opioid crap, I hold no quarter for almost anybody. I've said it numerous times before on this show that I hope that somebody throws Richard Sackler off of a building, particularly a very high one, fine one with the triple-digit sorts of floors. Throw him off like a gay guy in Palestine, just right off that building. Wouldn't matter much to me. But apparently now Jack Ciattarelli is planning on suing Mikey Sherrill over this nonsense, which I absolutely think he should. The Ciattarelli campaign announced it has plans to file a defamation lawsuit next week against Sherrill for her comments made on Wednesday night's debate right before election night, in which she accused the Republican rep of making millions of dollars publishing opioid propaganda for his former medical publishing company. Sherrill claimed twice that Jack Ciattarelli killed tens of thousands of people, including children, which is news to everyone involved in this entire situation. New Jersey, look, to my friends out there in New Jersey, if you go to the polls and you're good and you go there by yourself, you have failed. You have failed. You must bring someone who doesn't normally vote. You have to bring somebody who doesn't normally vote with you to the polls. Bring 2, bring 3, fill up your damn car. And that is how we win. That is how we win. We've got elections coming up all over the country, so I hope you guys are ready to go. I'm going to be doing as much traveling as I possibly can. Let's see. What is Mike Johnson up to? Mike Johnson is speaking right now. We'll check in with him real quick. Let's see here.
Back on. That's the fact. That's where we are. Yes, ma'am.
On the military pay, though, in past shutdowns, there have been ways to guarantee that members of the military get paid.
Level check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Republicans in your caucus who have signed on to a standalone bill to pay these military members. So at what point do you rethink
Every single Republican is not just talking about paying troops. We have already had those votes. We have done that. We did it 3 weeks ago. The executive branch, the president, is working on ways that he may have as well to ensure that troops are paid. The Republican Party stands for paying the troops. The Democrats are the ones that are demonstrating over and over and over now 8 times that they don't want troops to be paid. This could not be any simpler than it is.
Guys, it's 4 p.m. I just wanted to check in on what Mike Johnson was saying. I guess they were having an audio problem on their end. I don't know what the hell that was all about. But I want to thank everybody so much for tuning in. I will catch you guys live on Monday. If you're in town, I'll be at the Farmingdale Street Fair all weekend. What up, Whitney? How's it going, Whit? There you go. There's your shout out, guys. Pete Santilli is coming up next right here on this network. Should be coming in any minute. There is Pete Santilli. I'll catch you guys back live on Monday. Until then, stay loud.